think, well, he's busy making a baby every 2 years, or building a house.
We took care of that,
or writing a book. You've been a little busy.
I wrote a book.
Yeah, you wrote a book. Bryan Baeumler, Measure Twice. This is sort of like caution for those of us that want to go out there and do DIY projects. You're not saying don't do them, but try and do them properly.
Yeah, it's 191 problems or issues that I've run across, and kind of an explanation of the problem and how to avoid it.
Right.
And I think the whole Measure Twice thing is a metaphor for just take a deep breath, slow down, think about it again before you go crazy.
Well, that's why today we want to deal with paint, because paint seems to be one of those things that most of us can kind of deal with. It's something that you would advise us to go for it after you've done the research. Maybe we can deal with, hopefully we can deal with, if we know the right basics. So we're going back to the basics, and the first thing you have to think about is actually choosing paint.
Yeah, choosing the paint.
What paint are you looking for, and what is that based on?
Generally, like here we've got a high gloss finish and a matte finish.
Can you pick that up for us a little bit?
So you can see there's shiny and there's matte. Now, we kind of broke the rules. We put shiny on the walls and all kinds of things, but generally you put an eggshell on a wall, on a surface that's not going to get a lot of traffic, and something like a semi-gloss or a high gloss on trim. More people are using it on walls now, where it's shinier, but generally this is going to last a little bit longer, be a little tougher. The old days, the thought was we need to use oil-based paint.
Okay.
That's very strong, but there's a lot of latex paints now that stand up very well. They've got a great gloss to them, and that's, I mean, it's great to go with latex, a low VOC, the volatile organic compounds that keep your home healthy and safe, that kind of stuff.
So you don't necessarily want to go with the shiny because it gets banged up pretty quickly. Is that
no,
sort of the theory? Or the shiny's tougher?
Yeah, this here you'll see. I mean, well,
it's
you probably
the
won't see
matte
it.
that's going to show if it gets banged up more.
The matte will show more. So the gloss and semi-gloss, even in a latex paint is pretty tough now. It's great. When you're looking at an older home with oil on the wall, I got a great story. I came home one day and Sarah had a bucket of water and a rag, and she's wiping latex paint off of a wall, and it looked like a murder scene. She tried to paint a dark red over an oil-based paint, and it all just came right off, which was great. So you can't paint latex over oil unless you prime it properly. You can paint oil over latex with no problem.
Okay.
So, the other thing people have to think about is surface preparation. I mean, you have to have that wall perfectly filled and ready to accept paint. And if you've got raw drywall, if you've got old paint, you may want to prime over it just to give it a surface to stick to. But a lot of the new paints as well have primer built in with the paint, so you just have to do a coat. It's great. I mean,
does it work out though? Do they work as well?
They
when
do.
It's 2-in-1?
They do, depending on the type of paint you choose and the color especially. You know, a darker color is going to be, you may have to do a few coats, like the dark red if you want something like that.
Yeah.
Especially if you do it over an oil-based paint, you end up scraping it all off. You'll need to do a few coats.
So would you advise, I mean, if you go to a paint store, you go to Benjamin Moore, your local Benjamin Moore, if you ask them, if you say, listen, I'm painting my kitchen, this is what I've got up on the walls now, I want to paint over it, they're going to be able to guide you, right?
Yeah, best way to go. You can get testing kits too to see if you've got oil on your walls. And the best thing to do is take advantage of the people that are selling the paint, that know what they're talking about.
Experts.
The experts, just talk to them, ask some questions, and measure twice metaphorically. Just take a deep breath and ask a second question and go from there before you make a major mistake.
Try your colors out, because the sun hits your house and your rooms a different way depending on the time of day.
And you may have different light bulbs in your home than you have in the store when you're looking at those tiny paint swatches, and you think that's a great color, and you get home and you realize that's pink. It happens. It happens.
All right, let's talk about, we talked a little bit about prepping your walls for it. What about if you've got a ton of paint already on the walls and you want to give it a new coat?
You want to wait a little while. You want to wait, not till it tacks up, but you want to wait until it's pretty dry. What can happen if it's not well adhered and you roll over it again is you'll start pulling the paint off the wall.
Okay.
Now you're looking at patching up again. You're looking at a rough wall surface.
Yeah.
So you want to take your time. A lot of people use tape. They'll start taping up the walls and the corners, so when they paint around, they've got a nice crisp line.
Yeah.
What I do is just take my time. I don't use the tape. If you do use tape to make a crisp line.
You don't use tape?
I don't use tape.
So you just like really painstakingly make sure you stay within the lines?
I stick my tongue out the left side, I bite it, and I hold my breath and I go for it.
Wow.
But the key is, if you are going to tape, A lot of people put the tape up and just slobber paint right over top of it. What happens is the paint gets underneath that tape.
Yeah.
And when you peel it, you see the rough edge.
It bleeds.
So you clean the brush off so there's only a little bit of paint on there and seal that edge, let the paint dry, then go over it with a heavy coat. That's how you get a nice crisp line.
Okay. Yeah. That taping stuff takes a long time, but the preparation is worth it unless you're going to have your tongue hanging out and be painstakingly making sure you stay within lines.
And preparation for anything, it doesn't matter what project you're doing around the house, preparation is 95% of the job.
Right.
And 95% of the problems that you'll read in Measure Twice relate right back to the preparation. If you make a mistake in the beginning, it only gets worse, and all of a sudden you have a major problem and you have to back way up to fix it.
Right. Let's talk about the fifth wall.
The fifth wall.
The fifth wall, the ceiling.
The ceiling.
So painting the ceiling, have you ever done that?
I do it all the time.
All the time? Any tips and
tricks? All our
ceilings
are unfinished. That's why you never see them. You know, with the ceiling, you're going to use a ceiling white generally. That's kind of what everybody does. I like wrapping the room in color. You can do a different color. There's no rules. If you want to do a dark color on the ceiling, that's fine too.
Yeah.
If you want to wrap the color right around the room. For me, there's no rules in design, but I am married and there are rules.
Sarah has rules. Sarah has lots of rules.
Sarah has a couple of rules, and you know what? It turns out great in the end.
She's got a good eye.
She's got a great eye, and I think I do. But usually in the end, I'm really happy with what she's done. But wrapping the ceiling is easy. You can get ceiling paints that actually go on, because it's very hard to see ceiling paint over primer. So you can get ceiling paints that start out pink, and as they dry, they go white.
Right.
So you can see exactly where you've painted,
Smart.
which is great. And the different times of day, too. If you shine a light across the wall, you're going to see every detail and every flaw. So when you're painting, put a big light up on the ceiling, shining across it so you can see exactly what's happening.
Or just never do that ever, so that you never see any of the mistakes.
Or well,
ever.
See,
never.
When we're filming, there's a lot of lights, so it's hard. At the end, you come in for the reveal, and we've got some touch-ups to do.
What I love about this book is that you do sort of point out some of the major nightmares that you've seen, because you've seen a lot of them.
191.
191.
There's more, but you know, there's only so much time in a day.
There's only so much room in a book, right? Was there any paint-related one that you want to mention that you've seen on a job?
There's, I mean, we walk into houses all the time, and a lot of people think painting is easy, so we'll just tackle it and paint the house and make it look great before we sell it.
Yeah.
The problem is when somebody walks in and they've had a professional paint job or they've seen a paint job well done, the first thing they notice is that paint on the ceiling, the lines in the wall. There's a couple of tips in here, and a great one is when you're rolling, roll towards the arm of the roller because there's more pressure on that side, and the other side will help even out the lines.
See, very practical tips. Well, thanks to HarperCollins, our audience will have a chance to win a copy of Bryan's book, Measure Twice. And for those of you at home, follow us on Twitter @CityLineCA and retweet our contest tweet for your chance to win. Thank you, Bryan.
Thank you.